let's talk about the marketing before we talk about what to implement when you take on customers.
Okay.
This has kind of been a hot button issue in 2025, and it's very complicated to try to understand. But the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission, they govern how businesses market to consumers so that consumers are protected when they purchase goods or services.
Okay.
So back in the day, when they used to have infomercials at like 2:00 in the morning, then the infomercials, you know, they'd come on there and they were like, I lost 10 pounds in 2 days or whatever it was, or whatever that looks like, right? It was kind of guerrilla marketing at that point. The FTC has really, really cracked down, especially on online businesses, in the type of stuff that they talk about when you market your courses, programs, services, offerings, whatever.
Okay.
So there are very specific things that you can and can't say when you're talking about marketing. So let's say you launch a course and it is helping other online course creators to build their own courses and sell their own courses, right? And one of the things that you're talking about is your very first student, Susie, who took your course and her business blew up. She started making, I don't know, figures within the first 6 months of taking your course, right? And you want to talk about it, right? This is a really great success story. It was using your framework. It was using your course. You want to splash it all over the place.
Right.
That can actually get you in a lot of trouble with the FTC if it is not considered to be an average result of someone taking your course, program, or services.
Okay.
So what a lot of people want to do, again, they want to talk about their success stories from their clients, right?
Right. Yes.
But if it is not the average, considered to be a misrepresentation to consumers. There is something, the way that the FTC looks at all of this is that they look at what's called a net impression. What is the net impression that someone is going to get when they're looking at your marketing material? Are they going to look at your marketing material and they're going to say, oh, Susie made $500,000 in the first 6 months after taking this course. I can make $500,000, right? That's what they're going to think. That's called a net impression. So you really have to be careful about testimonials, about talking about client success stories, about talking about your own success stories, right? A large part of the time we go out there and they're like, I have this successful business. I'm over $1 million. I've made over $1 million, and like, this is why you should learn from me. It's because I'm a multimillionaire, right? Right. But the net impression from someone, you may not have used all of the techniques that you're teaching in this course. Sure, you've made $1 million. Is that net? Is that gross?
Right.
Is that profit? What does that look like? So be careful when you're using your marketing. You really, really, really have to be very, very distinct in your language and how you're marketing and talking about success stories and testimonials and that sort of thing. And using a disclaimer won't always cut it. So going out there and saying, yes, I've made $1 million, that is net, right? You have a little line underneath. Disclaimer, this is net. I didn't use all of the things. Results may not vary. Your earnings may not vary, right? If you're highlighting Susie's story, that isn't going to pass it. That isn't going to, that may educate the person who is purchasing the course, but that's not going to prevent you from violating FTC rules and regulations, just having a line disclaimer. You also need to have verified proof from your clients. So if you have a client that writes you a testimonial and they say, I've made $500 in the 6 months after taking your program, you need to get information from them, bank account records, bank statements, Stripe statements. The FTC says that you need to have verified backup. You can't just take their word for it, right? Anyone could say anything. I made $1 million in a week after taking your course. This is such a great course, right? I know they do, because we're in a very social media is about connectivity, right, to other people. And if you're like making connections there, then you might say some things that might not necessarily be true or a little bit embellished, or maybe you'll say something like 6 figures. Well, 6 figures, $100,000, or is it $800,000? Right?
Exactly.
So you need to have the backup. If you're going to be using the language from a client, you need to make sure and verify, and not just see it from the client. You need to have that. So if the FTC comes to you and says, show me the proof, you need to be able to show them the proof, and you can't backpedal Once you splash it out there, you can't take it back. The FTC will pull the trigger and you will be fined. So just be very careful in your marketing.